Hello everyone! In this video, I'll demonstrate a technique that is powerful and elegant at the same time, Pseudo-Coke. This technique works by identifying specific cells that are in a row or a column and in the same block. The best way to explain this is to look at an example. Let's take a look at this first example of a puzzle already in progress. And we are looking for either two cells that have 4 candidates or 3 cells with 5 candidates. This first example involves 2 cells with 4 candidates. Take a look at these 2 cells. They're in block 2 and in row 1, and they have 4 candidates split between the 2 cells, the 3, 5, 6, and 9. These 2 cells are called intersecting cells since they intersect in both a line, in this case a row, and a block. They are sometimes referred to as base cells. Now we need to find a bi-value cell in the same row but outside the block with 2 of the candidates, and another bi-value cell inside the block containing the other 2 candidates. So here we have a bi-value cell in the same row, and it has the 5 and 9. And here we have a bi-value cell inside the block, and it has the 3 and the 6. So the 4 candidates in these 2 yellow base cells, the 3, 5, 6, and 9, are split between these 2 green bi-value cells, the 5, 9 here, and the 3, 6 here. And one of the bi-value cells is in the same row as the base cells, and the other is in the same block. This pattern is called a Pseudo-Coke. And now you can eliminate all 5s and 9s from row 1, except from the highlighted cells that are part of the Pseudo-Coke pattern. So we can eliminate these 2 5s, and there are no 9s in row 1 except the ones as part of the pattern. Great! And we can also eliminate all the 3s and 6s in the block 2, that are not part of the pattern, the highlighted cells. There are no other 3s in the block, but we can eliminate these 2 6s. That's pretty neat, right? So why does this work? Well, we eliminated the 5 candidate in this cell, but let's see what would happen if this cell was actually a 5. Then this bi-value cell, which is a 5, 9, would now have to be a 9, and so now we have a 5, 9 in row 1. So that forces this cell with the candidates 5, 6, and 9 to be a 6, and then this cell with 3, 5, and 6 can only be a 3. Great! But wait, now that we've placed a 3 and a 6 both in block 2, and this bi-value cell can only be a 3 or a 6, we have an impossible scenario here, and that means our initial assumption to make this cell a 5 cannot be true. You can do that with all the numbers that we just eliminated, and you'll see that you'll end up with an impossible scenario. There is another way we can understand why this works, and that is to first look at row 1 by itself without considering the block. This bi-value cell has to be either a 5 or a 9, which means that these 2 cells that contain the 4 candidates, 3, 5, 6, and 9, can really only contain 3 out of those 4 numbers, since the 4th number has to be either the 5 or the 9, and it would go in this bi-value cell. Now let's look at only the block by itself and not consider the row. If this cell is either a 3 or a 6, then these 2 base cells can only contain 3 out of the 4 numbers, since a 3 or a 6 has to go in this bi-value cell. Now let's put that together. This bi-value cell in the same row has to be a 5 or a 9, and this bi-value cell in the same block has to be a 3 or a 6. So that means these 2 intersecting cells can be a 5 or a 9 and a 3 or a 6, and then the 2 cells would really have only 2 possible candidates between the 2 cells, not 4. So what we have here basically is 2 overlapping locked sets. The 5 and the 9 are locked into these 3 cells in row 1. They can't be anywhere else in the row, so we're able to eliminate any additional 5s or 9s in the row. Likewise, the 3 and the 6 are locked into these 3 cells in the block 2, and that means that any other 3 or 6 in the block can be eliminated. Now, this example was for 2 cells with 4 candidates in a row block combination. Let me show you one more example consisting of 2 cells and 4 candidates, but this time in a column block combination. And then I'll show you an example of a Pseudo-Coke pattern with 3 cells and 5 candidates. Let's take a look at this second example. In the previous example, the pattern was across the row, row 1. In this example, we can see the pattern down the column, column 9, and it is in block 9. Here we have the 2 cells consisting of 4 candidates, the 4, 6, 8, and 9. These are our base cells or intersecting cells. They're in a line and a block at the same time. The line is column 9 and the block is block 9. 2 of the candidates in the base cells are in this by-value cell in the same column, the 6 and the 9, and 2 of the 4 candidates are in this by-value cell in the same block, the 4 and the 8. So in column 9, we have a locked set of 6 and 9 in these 3 cells, so no other cells in the column can be a 6 or a 9. That means we can eliminate this 9. And in the block, we have a locked set of 4 and 8 between these 3 cells. So no other cells in the block can be a 4 or an 8. So we can eliminate the 4 and the 8 from this cell. To see why this works again, we can play the same game we did before and make assumptions to see what would happen. If, for example, this cell was a 9, then that would force this cell to be a 6, and that would mean that these yellow cells can no longer be 6s or 9, and we are left with just the 4, 8, 2 candidates to fill in 3 cells. 2 numbers for 3 cells, well, that won't work. So that means this cell can't be a 9 and it can be eliminated. We don't have to follow the logic each and every time. We can just find the pattern and rely on the logic to work. So we can eliminate this 9 from the column and these 4s and 8s from the block. Okay, we just saw 2 examples using 4 candidates split between 2 base cells. Now let's extend this pattern from 2 cells and 4 candidates to 3 cells with 5 candidates. Here the 3 cells are these in column 7 and the 5 candidates are the 1, 2, 4, 7, and 8. So we have 3 cells with 5 candidates in a line block formation. The 3 cells are all in the same line, a column, and in the same block. Next, we look for a by-value cell with 2 of the same candidates in the column and in the block. In the column, we have a by-value cell with the candidates 2 and 4, and in the block, we have a by-value cell with the candidates 1 and 8. So we have a Pseudo-Coke pattern on 4 of the 5 candidates, the 2, 4, and the 1, 8. But there's a 5th candidate in the original intersecting cells, the base cells highlighted in yellow, and that 5th candidate is the 7. So now we have 3 possible candidates split between these 3 cells. These cells can be either a 2 or a 4, a 1 or an 8, and a 7. So the 7 candidate gets locked within the intersection of the column and the block. It is part of the locked candidates, and now, because of this by-value cell with a 2, 4, we can eliminate any 2, 4, or 7 from the column outside of the pattern. So here we have a 4 and a 7 that can be eliminated. And now let's look at the block. The by-value cell is a 1, 8, so we can eliminate any 1, 7, and 8 from the block that is not a part of the pattern, the highlighted cells. The logic is the same as with the 2-cell 4-candidate example. The candidates 2, 4, and 7 are locked into these 4 cells in column 7. So any other 2, 4, or 7 in the column can be eliminated. And the candidates 1, 7, and 8 are locked into these 4 cells in block 6. So any other 1, 7, and 8 in the block can be eliminated. This pattern can be extended to include additional candidates, but that's for another video, maybe. Meanwhile, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something.